In Ois Gimel, the Rebbe finished saying that from the Maimer of the Friedrich Rebbe, the V'kibela Yehudim, it's mashma that the idea that the Moshe Rabbeinu and his Pashtusa, the Moshe, are the ones that strengthen the Emunah of the Yid. So it says in the Maimer, that's why they become Kosis Lamoir. That they reach not only to Oir, not only to light, but to the luminary itself. And the Rebbe's question was, what's the connection? Why is it that the feed of the Ispashtusa, the Moshe and Moshe, impacts the level of Kosis Lamoir? That seems to be something different. As we'll see later on in the Maimer, the Rebbe explains how Moshe Rabbeinu feeds that. In Ois Daled, the Rebbe is going to question, maybe that's not the pshat in the Maimer. It's not the pshat. Right now we're saying that the Kosis Lamoir is accomplished through the Raya, through Moshe Rabbeinu, through the Ispashtus of the Moshe, and the question is, what's the connection, which the Rebbe will explain the connection. But right now in his Dalet, the Rebbe says maybe that Kosis Lamoir is explaining another part. And the Rebbe is going to say, but in the order of the Maimer, the way the Maimer is written, it seems like it is the Ispashtusa, the Moshe and Moshe Rabbeinu who impact that it should be Kosis Lamoir. As the Rebbe is going to say, possibly the previous Rebbe brings down in the Maimer about the great Mesiras Nefesh, that it was in the time of Purim, and maybe to explain that, that's in the beginning of the Maimer that the Rebbe was repeating here. So maybe because of the Mesiras Nefesh, he says you reach the Kosis Lamoir, but the Rebbe argues that in the Maimer it's mashma, the Hemshech HaInyonim, that it is the Moshe Rabbeinu that brings that up. Let's look inside. Dalet. Hine habiur beposik ve'ata Tezwa. They're explaining the posik of Ato Tezwa, that the Rebbe was explaining before, that Moshe Rabbeinu is the connector, that he is Metzaveh and connects with the Bnei Yisrael, with the Ein Sof. In the Maimer, it comes behemshech la'mevur b'tchilas haMaimer. This follows that which was explained in the beginning of the Maimer. And the Rebbe is going to try to say maybe this last part of Kosis Lamoir applies to the previous part. What is explained in the beginning of the Maimer? The Pirush v'kibel haYehudim eis asher eichelu lasis. What is the meaning? That the Yidden accepted upon themselves, that's what they have begun to do. At the time of Purim, it was an acceptance to something which they have already started, which means that the Yidden at that time of Purim accepted that what they started during the time of when the Torah was given. During Matan Torah was the beginning. They began to do. But in the days of the Achashverosh, Bisman Gzeres Hamon, at the time of the Gzeres Hamon, Hoysa Kabbalah was the acceptance. They started it in the time of Matan Torah, and the acceptance, when did the acceptance come? During the time of Gzeres Hamon. That means they accepted what they started. Similar to the saying of our sages, alaposik kimu v'kiblu haYehudim. Here it says v'kiblu haYehudim lasis. On the pasuk of kimu v'kiblu haYehudim, this is a few psukim before, it's a few psukim later, but over there, the Gemara says, kimu mashi kiblu kvar. They sustained and they fulfilled that which they've accepted. The fact that the Yidden said we will do and will listen, that at Matan Torah, that was the acceptance. But they didn't actually have to come through and fulfill it. And the days of Kimo, they fulfilled, they actually had to stay the acceptance, Mashekiblu, that's what they've accepted. They accepted upon themselves that they will do. And now came the time during the Gzeiras Haman in which the Yidden fulfilled their acceptance of Nasiv and Nishma. So the Maimer asks, this is all a discussion, the Maimer over there. So the Maimer, he learns and questions, seemingly this is something surprising. How could we say that Matan Torah was the beginning and now this was the acceptance of them? Because it seems surprising. The Matan Torah Yisrael betachlis ha'ilu. During Matan Torah, the Yidden war and the total elevation. At Slom Gilu Elikus Bedargach. They had the revelation of godliness on the highest of levels. During Matan Torah, the Yidden were at a very high level. That means even the lead up to Matan Torah was on high levels. The lead up, what led to Matan Torah. The nice of Loze, in addition to the fact Shagam Koidem Matan Torah Hoyu Giluyim Nailim Yosef. Even before Matan Torah, there were very great revelations, elevated revelations, which, for example, Yaragilu Shoya B'Yitzis Mitzrayim. There was a revelation that took place when they left Egypt. Ubefrat B'Kriyas Yamsuf, especially when the sea was torn and the Yidden went into the sea, there was revelations over there. Ubefrat Hinagilu Shoya B'Shas Matan Torah Higilu Naila Oid Yosef. And then on Matan Torah there was even a greater revelation, a greater revelation. So we're talking about of the greatest revelations. And what was, contrast that to what took place with Bimei Achashverosh, and in the days of Achashverosh, Hoyu Yisrael betachlis hayirida. The Yidden were in total descent. In the days of Achashverosh, and more than the regular descent within Golus, they were even lower than that. The noise of La Helen Hester Shabachol Golus. In addition to the blockage and the obscurity of every Golus. It's terrible, every Golus, it was worse then. The whole Golus, Bedugmas Golus Mitzrayim. Any exile is similar to Golus Mitzrayim. What do we say about the exile of Egypt? Just like it says in the Golus Mitzrayim, it says, they did not listen to Moshe because of shortness of breath and from the hard labor. So this is a general theme of Golus, that it is difficult. There is many tests in fulfilling Torah mitzvahs. So this is general golus. But then it was particularly bad. At the time of the decree of Haman, it was even a greater Helen Vester. The Afal Pikain, and yet, Bisman Matan Torah, Kishahoyu Yisrael Betachlis Ilui. During the time of Matan Torah, when the Yidden were at the ultimate elevation or the total elevation, it says there was only the beginning. They started. But in the time of the decree of Haman, when they were in total low level, that is when they accepted what they started in Matan Torah. How could that be the acceptance in this lower levels relative to the other level? That was the beginning, and this is the acceptance. So that was what the Friedrich Rebbe presents in the Maimer. And he explains Man Hagizeira, that during the time of the decree, their fulfillment of Torah mitzvahs was with Mesiras Nefesh. When the decree came out from Haman with Achashverosh to annihilate the Yidden, they fulfilled Torah mitzvahs with Mesiras Nefesh. Now, this was two steps in them. The step that led up to this, they were in trouble because they didn't relinquish their faith. That's generally. Besides that, the actual observance took place with Mesiras Nefesh. The noise of Lozeh. In addition to the fact they had self-sacrifice not to deny, God forbid, Hashem. As explained in the Torah, had they agreed to change their religion, they would not do to them anything. The reason that the Jews were in trouble was because they did not agree to deny Hashem. So that was a Mesiras Nefesh. Ki ha-gezeira hoisorak al ha-Yehudim. The gezeira was only on the Yehudim, those who don't agree to Hashem and don't agree to Avodah Zarah. Ba'afal pikein, and still, while this was Mesiras Nefesh, the also al daitom machsheves chutz chas v'sholom, it never entered their mind an outside thought, maybe we should deny, save ourselves. No, God forbid, it never entered their mind. So that was generally the reason they were in trouble in the first place, is because they refused to denounce Hashem, to deny Hashem. But besides that, they had self-sacrifice for observing Torah mitzvahs. Till they gathered public gatherings, to learn Torah with self-sacrifice. Who brought about, aroused them with that Mesiras Nefesh, that came through Mordechai Yehudi, which was the Moshe Shebedoire, the Moshe Bedoire. This is the meaning of the Yehudim accepted that which they begin to do. The b'matan Torah hoitzaraka schola, by the Torah was given, it was the beginning. Obizman gzeiras Haman hoisa kabbalah, because of the Mesiras Nefesh, they were then receiving, then they accepted upon themselves. K'al yidei shehoya lehem oz mesidas nefesh bepoil. Through the fact that at that time they actually had literal, in actuality, self-sacrifice al Torah mitzvahs, on the Torah mitzvahs. Nis'alu be'inyan zeh. So as far as this aspect of it and the level of mesidas nefesh, lemadrega nailis yoser mikmei shehoyu bizman matan Torah, to a higher level than they were a matan Torah. V'lochein oz davke hoyso ha-kabbalah b'kibbutz Yehudim. And that's why it was davke then that was the Kabbalah b'kibbutz Yehudim. That's what he answers in the Maimer. Okay, so now maybe we can say that that's why it says kosis lamoir, because through the kosis you get to the more, to the higher madrega. But the Rebbe doesn't say kosis lamoir over there. This was in the beginning in the Maimer. And then it says it's Pashtusa, the Moshe, the Ata Tzav in every generation. And then he says the Kosis Lamoir. So it's mashma that is connected to the Kosis Lamoir. The Chayre Yesh Loimer Shapirush Bekosis Lamoir. That the Rebbe teaches the Kosis Lamoir. Shalidei Kosis Nishbar V'Nitke. When you are crushed, you are broken and pushed. Magin Lamoir is a Moir. That explains this explains why during the time of the Gezeda they came to Mesidas Nefesh on a very high level, because they were crushed then. What does it mean, the Moir? Because Mesidas Nefesh comes from the essence of the soul, which is beyond Gilui. It's called the Moir, the luminary. That's not the Oir. Shemimenu nimtza Oir. The Oir comes from. So, because it's a level of Mesidas Nefesh, by Yidei Shahoyu Oz b'matzes the Kosis, since they were in a situation, they were crushed. Nishbar v'nitke, they were broken and pushed, subdued. This gal etzem haneshama moir, the etzem haneshama, the moir revealed. That's why it says Shamala moir. So that would be the explanation of Kosis Lamoir. But the Rebbe says that Kosis Lamoir, Abu Mehemshech was Seder in Yoni Ba'amaimer, but from the flow and the order, the way the ideas are expressed in the Maimer, Sha'apirush bekosis Lamoir bo la'acharei ho'inyan d'rai mehemna. That over there in the Maimer, Kosis Lamoir comes after. He tells the Ata Tzav, then he says there is the Raya Mehemna that Moshe Rabbeinu feeds, and after that he says Kosis Lamoir. Mashma, it's understood, it seems, the Inyan Kosis Lamoir Shaykh Gam Lozeh Shemoshe Zon Mefarnes Es Ha'amunah Shetia B'Pnimius. That the idea of Kosis Lamoir also connects to this. The Rebbe writes that Moshe feeds, supports the Amunah should be in Apnimis. This brings the Kosis Lamoir, not just because of the Mesidas Nefesh, which he talked about earlier in the Maim. So why is it that the Moshe is Pashtusa the Moshe, why do they bring out this idea of Kosis Lamoir? That was the question that the Rebbe asked in the end of Ois Gimel, and he comes back to the question in the end of Ois Dalet. The Rebbe is going to explain how Moshe Rabbeinu's bringing down in a Pnimius brings about also the idea of Kosis Lamoir. Hey, Yesh Levayer Zeh Al Pi HaYeduam. Explain this. First, the Rebbe says what was known, the Zeh She Yisrael Ma'aminim Be'Elokus Be'emunah Pshuta, the fact that Yidden believed in godliness with simple faith, ואין צריכים ראייה על זה, and they don't need evidence, הוא מצד שני timing. This comes because of two reasons. The two reasons why you didn't have emunah, there's two reasons here. One of them is based lefi shemazlahu chazi. They may not see, but their mazel, meaning a level higher than their cognitive level, their mazel beyond, they can see things that they don't see here, which is the haneshama shalamayla, the soul of above, roya lakus, it sees godliness, roya, it sees it. Reiya shalamayla mesechel, it is seeing, which is more than the intellect understanding. They see with godliness, they see. And that impacts that the soul which is in the body has that emunah in godliness. And then there's another explanation. So this needs at least the neshama above to see. The second explanation that it's even higher than what the neshama sees. It's from the essence of the soul. It's even higher than the level that the mazel sees, that the neshama sees. The fact that the essence of the soul is tied to godliness, he is kashrus atzmis. That is a tie in essence. It's not the neshama sees, it's not that it feels. It is in essence connected. There is no reason why it's connected. Not even seeing, which is higher than seichel, it's not even connected to that. So we can say, what's the difference? What's the difference between the two explanations, the two ideas? How it impacts, whether it impacts because the neshama sees or because the essence is connected. The hamuna ba'neshama hamalubeshes beguf, because the belief that comes to the soul, which is in the body, Habom eriyas haneshama, from the first explanation that comes because the neshama sees shalomaylo, he bebchinas makif. That is in a level, that emunah that comes to the person from the level of that the neshama sees is only in the neshama and guf in a way of makif. The kivon shah neshama shalomaylo. Because since the soul above, he lemailo mihis slapshus, it is beyond dressing up. That's why the neshama stays above. Lochein pu'uloso b'haneshama l'mulveshes beguf. That's why the impact. How does it influence the neshama which is in the body? He b'bchinas mak, if it's in a surrounding way. We need the second level in order to bring it down in a pnimis. And in order for that emunah that in the soul, that is dressed in the body, we want it to be inside, inner, not just in a makif. That comes through revealing the essence connection of the essence of the neshama. Why is it that the essence of neshama comes down bigilui? Ki etzem haneshama, when we talk about the etzem haneshama, we're not talking about the etzem of the neshama, which is not dressed in the body. We're talking about the etzem of the neshama, which is in the body. Ki etzem ha-neshama hi ha-etzem shel ha-neshama mulabeshes beguf. That's the essence of the neshama, which is dressed in the body. V'lochein ha-amuna da-neshama ha-mulabeshes behaguf shemitzad etzem ha-neshama. That's why the amuna, which of the neshama, which is dressed in the body, that comes because of its essence, because it's in the body, it's not from above. So now we'll understand how the Ispashtusa, the Moshe and Moshe Rabbeinu, they actually feed in a pnimius, as we say. They're megala because they are megala the etzem haneshama. This way we can explain the connection of the ideas in the Maimed. So we're talking about the whole time that this idea that crushed gets you to the moir, that comes as a follow-up after explaining the idea that Moshe Rabbeinu was the Rayim Hemne, fed them Emunah. How is Moshe Rabbeinu feeding, supporting the Emunah, that it should be in a Pnimis? That's by revealing the essence of the soul, which is on a higher level of Mazli Choza, which is Moir Shalamayla Me'ir. The Mazel, that's the level. He's even higher than the Mazli Choza, the essence of Neshama. It's the Moir Shalamayla beyond Oir. Umashe Kosiv La Moir. So why is it Kosis La Moir? Why don't we say that Moshe Rabbeinu gives the Moed? Because Moshe Rabbeinu is Megala, that's Haneshama. Why is it that being crushed brings you to the Moed? Which is accomplished through Moshe, the Kosish of Bizman Hagolus. That comes through being crushed in time of Golusu. Iker Hagilu, the Etzem and Neshama Moed, because the main revelation of the essence and Neshama, which is Moshe, but it's the main revelation of Beinyan HaMesiras Nefesh, that expresses itself when there is Mesiras Nefesh. She'ikoreu Bizman HaGolus Kedlakaman. Mainly, this comes out during the time of Golus, as the Rebbe will explain later on. So now we are saying, yes, the Amunah that comes because of Mazlayu Chozi remains in Amakif. The Amunah that comes because Etzem HaNeshama, because the Etzem HaNeshama of which is within the Guf, when you reveal the Etzem HaNeshama, it comes in Apnimis. Who is the Zon of Mefarnes that it should be Pnimis? That is Moshe Rabbeinu. When does it come out? Mainly in the time of Golus, because it's when there is Kosis. That is when it comes down in a openly that the Etzem and Neshama is Nizgal. But Inyan Hu, the idea is the Zesha Hamuna the Yisrael the Ba'ofen Shomoiser Nafshi Alzeh. This that the Amunah that a Yid has is in a way that he gives up his life. Who be'iker ba'amunah shemitzad etzem haneshama. That is mainly because of the Amunah that comes because of the essence of the soul, and not because of the Mazlayu Chosi. The Amunah mitzad zeh shehu roye Mazlei Chosi. The Amunah that comes because the Mazel sees it, that he sees, the Neshama above sees. Hagam she betake of God, even though it's with the brick force. Ki yedua, as it's known, the his amsus the conviction, the truth that a person is convinced when you've seen it, that's a tremendous, great truth, conviction. So it's a very powerful what you see. But yet, since the belief is because of a reason, it comes, it's based, he sees, but why does he have a belief? Because he's seen it. It's not tied to his existence, his essence. So it's not for sure. He doesn't have to give up his life for this. The fact that the Amunah of a Yid is in such a way that he gives over his life for this, for the other reason, is because believing in godliness, that's his essence. You reveal that essence. You reveal him that that's who he is. It's impossible at all for him to deny. So the Rebbe explains now that this is really what Moshe, it says in the Maimer, that he feeds the Amunah and the leaders that follow, that feed the Amunah, means they reveal the essence of the Neshama of a Yid. So based on this, we can explain what it says in the Maimer. This that Moshe feeds Amunah. He feeds and sustains Amunah. He says in the Maimed that this also applies to the shepherds of Israel in every generation. The expansion of Moshe in every generation. They support, strengthen the Amunah of the Yidden, so that they stand with self-sacrifice to observe the Torah mitzvahs. So, the question is, Moshe Rabbeinu gave them das, and here they're teaching them to stand strong. How does Moshe support and sustain the Munah? It's explained in many places. Also in this Maimer, by giving them knowledge, the das in godliness. The Munah comes with pnimis, but it comes through what? Through das. But but how do the Jewish shepherds in every generation, how do they strengthen the Munah? It's not giving them das. That is, that it should be in a way of Mesiras Nefesh, self-sacrifice, not to give them das, not to give them that, but self-sacrifice. So how are we connecting these pashtus of the Moshe? The Maimer says that this is done by all these pashtus of the Moshe, but ba'pian al yeshloima. So you can answer, say, she'ikero inyan derayim hemna. The main part of the derayim hemna is not that he gives them das, that he's feeding and supporting the Mun itself. That Amunah should not just be as it is from revelation, which would be because the neshama above sees godliness. That's the main function of Moshe, the main function of the leaders that follow his pashtus of the Moshe, to reveal the essence of the neshama. B'das v'asogya. Well, we say that Moshe does bring down, extends the emunah into inner, in das and asogya, h'tzoa mizeh. This is a result. The fact, Shuzon u'mefarnes es hamuna atzma, because he supports and he feeds the emunah himself. Hamshochas v'gilu emunah k'moshi mitzad etzem haneshama, by extending a revelation as it is essence haneshama, and memela he's mamshich into the level of das u'kenal sivhei, as we said earlier, sivhei. The hamshocha hamuna b'pnimis b'das. How does it come down inside in the level of das? From the level of gilui, it only comes makif. To come to the level of pnimius in das, that is through the gilui of the etzem haneshama. Why they gilu ha'is kashrus atzmis the etzem haneshama, that is through revealing the essence connection of the essence of the soul. So based on this, we can say the bazeh shebehadoire shehutzruchu limesiras nefesh bepoyel. So the fact, in the times of Moshe Rabbeinu, they didn't need that mesiras nefesh, but later on in the generations, they needed actually mesiras nefesh and chizkurei Yisrael, who is the one that strengthened them. Spashtusa de Moshe, those expansion of Moshe, Samuna de Yisrael, Shati b'mesiras nefesh. They expanded it that the emunah should be with mesiras nefesh. Nizgala ha'inyan derayim hemna. So it came to revelation this idea that you shepherd the emunah of Yosef b'Moshe atzmei. It's even more than by Moshe. By Moshe, when it wasn't that kosis lamoira yet, poil mamish wasn't revealed. There was just bepnimius, but here, by the Spashtusa, by the leaders, the Rei Yisrael, who brought out the emunah in a way of mesiras nefesh, it was even more than Moshe himself. Ki hamshochas v'gilu ha'Moshe ha'gilu ha'emunah k'Moshe mitzad etzem haneshama, because bringing down, revealing the emunah as it is from the essence of the neshama, which is the Moshe v'shpashtusa l'shem b'chol dora, and that is through Moshe and this expansion of his generation. Iker his galusu mesiras nefesh bepoil. The main revelation is when you actually have mesiras nefesh. So in those generations, when we actually needed mesiras nefesh, that is when the impact of Moshe Rabbeinu's revelation of the essence of the neshama came into open, because that's when it's needed in order to reveal the etzem ha'iskashrus, which brings down the essence of the neshama, revelation of the connection of a yid with the essence of his neshama.